The pistol aimed at Owen Turner's chest belonged to a woman he had never seen before. And despite the danger, the first thing he noticed was how terrified she looked behind that iron barrel. She stood in his barn on that humid August evening in 1873, her dress torn and muddy, dark hair falling loose from what had once been a proper bun, and her hands shaking so badly he worried she might accidentally pull the trigger. The setting sun cast orange light through the slats behind her, illuminating dust motes that danced between them like tiny witnesses to this strange encounter on his lonely ranch outside Eureka Springs, Arkansas. "I do not want trouble," Owen said slowly, keeping his hands visible and away from his own weapon. "But you are on my property." "I know," she whispered, her voice hoarse as if she had been running for days. "Please, I just need somewhere to hide for the night. Just one night, and I will be gone before sunrise." Owen studied her carefully. He was 32 years old and had lived alone on this ranch for the better part of 5 years, ever since his parents had passed from fever. In all that time, he had grown accustomed to solitude, to the quiet company of cattle and horses, to evenings spent with only the crickets for conversation. But he recognized desperation when he saw it, and this woman wore it like a second skin. "Who is chasing you?" he asked. Her green eyes widened. "How did you know someone was chasing me?" "Because nobody hides in a stranger's barn with a stolen pistol unless they are running from something or someone. That gun is too fine for your circumstances. You took it from whoever you are fleeing." She glanced down at the weapon as if seeing it for the first time, then slowly lowered it. Her arms dropped to her sides in defeat, and Owen saw tears begin to track through the dirt on her cheeks. "His name is Vernon Mallory. He owns half of Texas, and he thinks he owns me too." Owen took a careful step forward. "Does he now?" "I was his wife," she said, then corrected herself quickly. "I am his wife, legally, but I would rather die than go back to him." "Did he hurt you?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Hurt is too small a word for what Vernon does. He breaks things, objects, animals, people, especially people who belong to him." Owen felt something cold settle in his stomach. He had seen men like that before, men who believed ownership gave them the right to brutality. "What is your name?" She hesitated, then seemed to decide that honesty might be her only currency here. "Willa Thompson. That was my maiden name. I started using it again the moment I left his house." "Well, Willa Thompson, you can put that pistol down. I am not going to hurt you, and I am not going to turn you away. My name is Owen Turner, and this is my land. You are welcome to stay as long as you need." The relief that washed over her face was almost painful to witness. The gun clattered to the barn floor, and she swayed on her feet. Owen moved quickly, catching her elbow before she could collapse entirely. She smelled of sweat and fear and the dusty roads that stretched between here and Texas. "When did you last eat?" he asked. "I do not remember. Days, maybe." He guided her toward the house, a modest structure he had built with his own hands from Arkansas oak and pine. It was not much, but it was sturdy and clean, and right now it seemed like a palace compared to wherever this woman had been sleeping. Inside, he settled her into a chair at his kitchen table and immediately began pulling out food. Bread, butter, cold chicken from yesterday's supper, fresh milk from his cow. Willa ate slowly at first, as if her body had forgotten how, then with increasing urgency. Owen watched her from where he stood by the stove, heating water for coffee. In the lamplight, he could see the bruises more clearly now. There was a fading yellow one on her jaw, purple marks on her wrists that looked like fingerprints. His hands tightened on the coffee pot. "How long were you married to him?" Owen asked, keeping his voice neutral. She swallowed a bite of bread. 3 years. My father owed him money, gambling debts. Vernon offered to forgive everything if I would marry him, My father accepted before I even knew what was happening. Your father sold you. Yes, the word was bitter. And he died 6 months later anyway, so it was all for nothing. I have been trying to leave for 2 years, but Vernon always found me. He has men everywhere, friends in every town, money to pay for information. This time, I took his horse and rode further than I ever have before. I crossed into Arkansas 3 days ago, and I have been moving ever since. Owen poured 2 cups of coffee and brought them to the table, sitting down across from her. He will come looking for you here too. I know. Her eyes met his, and he saw steel beneath the exhaustion. But I cannot keep running forever. Eventually, I have to make a stand or disappear so completely that even he cannot find me. How would you disappear? There is a woman in Missouri, a Quaker woman who helps people like me. She finds new identities, new places to live. She helped my friend escape her husband last year, but I need money to get there and time to heal enough to travel that far. Owen sipped his coffee, thinking. The rational part of his mind told him to give her some money, point her north, and send her on her way before sunrise. Getting involved in a situation like this could bring trouble to his doorstep, and he had worked too hard to build this life to risk it for a stranger. But another part of him, a part that had been dormant for years, looked at this brave, battered woman and felt something stir. Your story ends here, he said finally. Willa looked up, confused. What do you mean? I mean the running, the fear, the looking over your shoulder. It ends here on this ranch. And your new story begins with me. You stay as long as you need. If Vernon Mallory comes looking, we will deal with him together. You will have time to heal, time to rest, and when you are ready, we will figure out the next step. Why would you do that for me? You do not even know me. Owen set down his cup. My mother used to say that we show who we are by what we do when nobody is watching and we have nothing to gain. I would not be able to look at myself in a mirror if I sent you back out there alone. Besides, I could use the help around here. This ranch is small, but it is more work than one person can reasonably handle. I do not know anything about ranching. Then you will learn. Can you cook? Yes. Can you sew? Yes. Can you read and write? Yes, my mother insisted on education before she died. Owen nodded. Then you have skills worth having. We will figure out the rest. Willa stared at him for a long moment, and he wondered what she saw. He was tall and lean from hard work, with sun-darkened skin and brown hair that needed cutting. His face was ordinary, he thought, nothing special. But his eyes were honest, and perhaps that was enough. I do not understand you, Owen Turner, she said softly. You do not have to understand me. You just have to trust me enough to stay. She was quiet for a moment, then nodded. 1 week. I will stay 1 week, help with whatever you need, and then I will move on before I bring trouble to your door. We will see, Owen said, though he was already certain that 1 week would not be enough time to accomplish what needed doing. This woman needed more than a week to recover from 3 years of horror. But he did not push. She needed to feel like she had some control over her own life, even if it was just the illusion of it. He showed her to his bedroom, insisting she take it while he would sleep in the barn. She protested, but he was firm. You need a real bed and a door that locks. I will be fine with my bedroll. I have slept in worse places. Alone in the barn later, stretched out on a pile of hay with a blanket, Owen stared up at the dark rafters and wondered what he had just gotten himself into. His life had been simple before tonight, predictable, safe. Now there was a woman in his house who was married to a dangerous man, and Owen had just promised to protect her. It was either the bravest or most foolish thing he had ever done, and he was not entirely sure which. But when he closed his eyes, he saw her face, saw the hope that had flickered there when he told her she could stay, and he knew he would not change his decision even if he could. The next morning, Owen woke before dawn as he always did. He washed at the pump behind the barn, then headed to the house to start breakfast. He was surprised to find Willa already awake, standing at his stove with a pan of eggs cooking. She had cleaned herself up as best she could, though she still wore the same torn dress. Her hair was braided now, neat and practical. "Good morning," she said, not quite meeting his eyes. "I hope you do not mind. I woke early and could not fall back asleep, so I thought I would make myself useful." "I do not mind at all," Owen said, hanging his hat on the peg by the door. "It smells good." They ate together in comfortable silence, then Owen laid out the day's work. "I need to check the cattle in the north pasture and repair some fence line. You can come with me if you like, or you can stay here and rest. There are vegetables in the garden that need picking if you feel up to it." "I will pick vegetables," Willa said. Staying busy sounds better than thinking. Owen understood that impulse. He gave her a basket and showed her the garden plot, which was looking a bit neglected since he had been busy with other work. She knelt in the dirt without hesitation, and he left her there, heading out to tend his cattle. The work was hot and tedious, but Owen had always found peace in it. He had 20 head of cattle, enough to provide income without being overwhelming. He knew each animal by sight, knew their habits and personalities. 2 were pregnant and would drop calves within the month. He made a mental note to keep closer watch on them. As he worked, his mind kept drifting back to Willa. She was younger than him, probably around 25 or 26, though hardship had etched lines around her eyes that made her seem older. There was something about her that drew him in, beyond just the natural sympathy for her situation. A strength underneath the trauma. A determination that had kept her running and fighting even when it would have been easier to give up. He returned to the house around midday to find Willa had picked nearly everything ready in the garden. Tomatoes, squash, green beans, and cucumbers filled several baskets. She had also swept the house, washed the dishes, and started a pot of beans for supper. When she saw him, she quickly looked away as if embarrassed by the industry. "You did not have to do all this," Owen said. "You said you could use help. I am helping. I meant eventually, not immediately. You should be resting. I told you staying busy is better." She wiped her hands on a rag. "Besides, I need to earn my keep." Owen wanted to tell her that she did not need to earn anything, that basic human decency did not come with a price tag, but he sensed that she needed this. Needed to feel useful and capable after years of being made to feel worthless. So he just nodded and said, "Thank you. The garden looks better than it has in months." Something that might have been a smile flickered across her face. "You are not much of a gardener, are you? I keep things alive, mostly. But I will admit it is not my strongest skill." "Then it is good I am here to manage it for you." They fell into a routine over the next few days. Owen worked the ranch, and Willa managed the house and garden. She was an excellent cook, he discovered, able to make simple ingredients into meals that actually tasted like something beyond mere sustenance. She sang sometimes while she worked, soft melodies that drifted through the open windows. The house felt different with her in it. Warmer. More alive. On the 4th day, Owen rode into Eureka Springs for supplies. It was a small town nestled in the Ozark Mountains, known for its natural springs and growing reputation as a health resort. The main street was busy with travelers seeking the healing waters, along with the usual mix of locals going about their business. Owen tied his horse outside the general store and headed inside. The proprietor, a man named Samuel Hart, greeted him warmly. "Owen, good to see you. The usual supplies." "Yes, and I need some fabric if you have any, something practical for a dress." Samuel raised his eyebrows. "Taking up sewing, are you?" "It is for a friend who is staying with me for a while. She needs some new clothes." A friend, you say? Samuel's expression turned knowing. Would not happen to be the woman that fellow was asking about yesterday, would it? Owen went very still. What fellow? Big man, dressed like he had money. Had a scar across his knuckles on his right hand. Said he was looking for his wife. Young woman with dark hair and green eyes. Said she was not well in the head, that she had run off and he was worried about her. What did you tell him? Told him I had not seen anyone matching that description. Seemed like the right thing to say, though I could not tell you why. Something about him made my skin crawl. Samuel leaned forward. This woman you have staying with you, she is not crazy, is she? No, Owen said firmly. She is not crazy, but she is running from a bad situation, and that man is the situation. If he comes back, I would appreciate if you kept not knowing anything. Samuel nodded slowly. He is still in town, staying at the boarding house. Has 2 other men with him. They have been asking questions all over. Owen felt his jaw tighten. Thank you for telling me, Samuel. I will take those supplies now and that fabric. Maybe 3 or 4 yards of something sturdy. You going to be all right out there? Those men looked like trouble. I can handle trouble when it comes, but I appreciate the concern. Owen loaded his supplies quickly and rode back to the ranch faster than was probably necessary. He found Willa hanging laundry on the line behind the house, clothes flapping in the hot breeze. She looked peaceful, almost content, and he hated to destroy that moment. But she needed to know. Willa, he called, dismounting. She turned, and her face fell when she saw his expression. He is here, is not he? Vernon is in town. How did you know? Because you look worried, and you have not looked worried since I arrived. What did you hear? Owen told her everything Samuel had said. Willa listened with her arms wrapped around herself, face pale. When he finished, she nodded once, sharp and decisive. I need to leave tonight. If I go now, I can be miles away before he thinks to check this far out. He will move on eventually, and you will be safe. No, Owen said. No, Owen, he has 2 men with him. They are dangerous. I have seen what they can do. I will not let you get hurt because of me. I said no. Owen stepped closer. I told you your story ends here. That includes the part where you run every time he gets close. If we send you out there alone, he will find you on the road, and that will be the end of it. At least here we can prepare. We can defend this place if we need to. You do not understand what he is like. Then tell me. Willa was quiet for a long moment, staring at the ground. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. Vernon Mallory is the kind of man who once shot his favorite horse because it hesitated at a jump. He did not do it in anger. He just did it because the horse had failed him, and failure was unacceptable. That is how he sees the world. Things either serve him perfectly or they are destroyed. I am his possession, and by leaving, I failed him. He will not stop until he has me back, and then he will make sure I never fail him again. Owen felt cold fury settle in his chest. Over my dead body. That is what I am afraid of, Willa said, and there were tears in her eyes now. I cannot have your death on my conscience. You have been kinder to me in 4 days than anyone has been in years. Please let me go. No. Owen took her hand, surprising them both. Her fingers were rough from work but small in his grip. Listen to me, Willa. I am not a violent man by nature. I do not go looking for fights. But I know how to protect what is mine, and right now you are under my protection. That means something to me. Vernon Mallory does not get to come onto my land and take you away. That is not going to happen. Why? She asked, searching his face. Why do you care this much? Owen did not have a good answer to that question, or at least not one he was ready to say out loud. The truth was that somewhere in the last 4 days, this woman had become important to him. He looked forward to seeing her each morning, to sharing meals with her, to hearing her sing while she worked. The house did not feel empty anymore, and the thought of her leaving left an ache in his chest that he did not quite understand. But those were not things you said to a woman who was still legally married and traumatized and vulnerable, so instead he said, "Because it is the right thing to do." Willa looked at him for a long moment, then squeezed his hand. "You are a good man, Owen Turner, better than I deserve." "You deserve a hell of a lot better than what you have gotten," Owen said. "Now come on. We need to prepare." They spent the rest of the day making the ranch as secure as possible. Owen loaded his rifle and his shotgun, checked his ammunition, and made sure Willa knew where they were kept. He showed her how to load and fire both weapons, though she clearly already knew the basics. They locked the barn and brought the animals closer to the house where they could be watched. Owen even fashioned a simple alarm system using tin cans and string around the perimeter that would make noise if anyone approached in the dark. As night fell, they ate a quiet supper together. Willa had made cornbread and beans with salt pork, simple but filling. Owen watched her across the table and saw that her hands were steady now, her jaw set with determination. The frightened woman who had pointed a gun at him in the barn was being replaced by someone harder, someone ready to fight. "Tell me about this ranch," Willa said suddenly. "How did you come to own it?" Owen leaned back in his chair, grateful for the distraction. "My father homesteaded this land 20 years ago, back in '53. He and my mother came from Tennessee, looking for a fresh start. They built the original cabin, which was about half the size of this house. I was born here, grew up working this land. When they died 5 years ago, it became mine. I have been building it up slowly ever since." "Do you have siblings?" "A brother, but he moved to California during the gold rush and I have not heard from him in years. For all I know, he struck it rich or died trying. Either way, this place is mine now." "It is a good place," Willa said. "Peaceful. I can see why you love it. What about you? Where are you from originally?" "East Texas, near the Louisiana border. My father had a small farm, nothing like your ranch, but it was home. My mother died when I was 15, and after that, my father started drinking, started gambling, lost more than he won. By the time I was 22, we were drowning in debt, and that is when Vernon appeared. He was older, established, wealthy. My father made the deal before I even met him." "Your father should have protected you." "Yes," Willa agreed softly, "but he did not. And now he is gone, and I am still living with the consequences of his choices." "Not anymore," Owen said. "From now on, you get to make your own choices." That night, Owen took the first watch while Willa tried to sleep. He sat on the porch with his rifle across his lap, listening to the night sounds of his land. Crickets, distant cattle, the hoot of an owl. Everything seemed normal, peaceful even, but he could not shake the sense of impending storm. Around midnight, he saw movement at the edge of his property. 3 riders, silhouettes against the moonlight. They stopped at the boundary, conferring among themselves. Owen stood slowly, making sure they could see him, making sure they knew the house was guarded. After a few minutes, they turned and rode away, but Owen knew they would be back. The next morning, Owen rode back into town early. He found the sheriff, a man named Daniel Cross, who Owen knew casually from previous interactions. Daniel was a fair man, stern but honest, and Owen hoped he would listen. "Daniel," Owen said, finding him at his office. "I need to talk to you about something." "Owen, good timing. I was going to ride out to see you today. There is a man in town asking about a woman, says she is his wife, says she might be dangerous. You know anything about that?" Owen chose his words carefully. "There is a woman staying at my ranch. Her name is Willa Thompson. She is not dangerous, but she is running from her husband because he beats her. His name is Vernon Mallory, and he is the dangerous one. I wanted you to know in case there is trouble." Daniel frowned. "That is a serious accusation." "Look at this." Owen pulled a small photograph from his pocket. He had asked Willa for it that morning, a picture she had hidden in her dress when she fled. It showed her 3 years ago, young and smiling, standing next to a tall man with hard eyes. Vernon Mallory. Now imagine what she looks like now. Bruises everywhere. Scars. She flinches when you move too fast. That man broke her in ways that might never fully heal. Daniel studied the photograph, then looked up at Owen. "Why are you involved in this?" "Because she showed up on my property asking for help, and I am not the kind of man who turns away someone in need. But Mallory is not going to give up easily. He was at the edge of my land last night with 2 men. I think they are planning something. What do you want me to do about it?" "I want you to know the truth before he feeds you lies. I want you to know that if something happens, if there is violence, it is because he brought it to my door. And I want you to remember that in Arkansas, a man has the right to defend his property and the people on it." Daniel was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "I will keep an eye on Mallory and his men. If they start trouble in town, I will handle it. But if this happens on your ranch, Owen, you are on your own until I can get there. Just make sure whatever you do, you can live with it afterward." "I can live with protecting an innocent woman," Owen said. "What I could not live with is letting her be dragged back to a man who will kill her eventually." "Fair enough. Be careful out there." Owen rode back to the ranch feeling slightly better but still wary. Willa met him at the door, anxiety written across her face. "What did the sheriff say?" He listened. "He knows the truth now. That is about all we can ask for." "Vernon will not go to the sheriff. He will come here himself." "I know. That is why we are going to be ready." They spent another day preparing, but the attack came sooner than Owen expected. It was late afternoon, the sun still high, when 3 riders approached the house openly. Owen and Willa were both outside, Owen mending a fence while Willa worked in the garden. They both stopped when they saw the riders. Vernon Mallory was in the lead, and Owen recognized him from the photograph. He was tall and broad-shouldered, wearing expensive clothes that seemed out of place in rural Arkansas. His face was handsome in a cold way, all sharp angles and hard lines. The 2 men with him looked like hired muscle, rough and mean. "Willa," Vernon called out, his voice carrying easily. "There you are. I have been looking everywhere for you, darling." Willa stood frozen, and Owen saw her hands begin to shake. He moved closer to her, positioning himself between her and the riders. "You are trespassing," Owen said calmly. "Turn around and leave my property." Vernon ignored him, his eyes fixed on Willa. "You have led me on quite a chase, my dear, but it is time to stop this foolishness and come home. I am sure you have apologized enough by now for your little tantrum." "I am not going anywhere with you," Willa said, and her voice was stronger than Owen expected. "I am done, Vernon. Find someone else to torment." Vernon's expression did not change, but something flickered in his eyes. Rage, barely contained. "You are my wife. You belong to me. Now get on one of these horses before I lose my patience." "No," Willa said. Vernon turned his attention to Owen for the first time, really looking at him. "And who are you? The local charity case who takes in stray dogs." "I am the man who owns this land, and I am telling you to leave. Willa is staying here of her own free will." "Willa is coming with me," Vernon said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "By choice or by force, but she is coming." "Over my dead body," Owen said, and he meant it. Vernon smiled, and it was the coldest expression Owen had ever seen. "That can be arranged." One of the hired men reached for his gun, and everything happened fast. Owen already had his hand on his own weapon, and he drew and fired in one smooth motion. The shot hit the dirt in front of the man's horse, spooking it and sending the rider scrambling to control his mount. The second hired man went for his gun too, but Owen was already swinging his rifle toward him. "Next shot goes through flesh, not dirt," Owen said calmly. Your choice." Vernon held up a hand, stopping his men. "Brave words for a farmer, but you are outnumbered and outgunned. Let us not make this messy. Just give me my wife and we will leave peacefully." "She is not your wife anymore," Owen said. "Not in any way that matters. She left you and she is not going back. You can accept that and ride away, or we can settle this the hard way. Either way, you are not taking her." "You have no idea who you are dealing with," Vernon said, and there was genuine menace in his tone now. "I own half of Texas. I have connections everywhere. I can make your life very difficult, Mr. Turner. My life is already difficult. I am a rancher. Difficult is what I do every day. Now get off my land." Vernon stared at him for a long moment, and Owen could see the calculations happening behind those cold eyes. Finally, Vernon nodded slowly. "Very well, we will leave for now, but this is not over, Willa, you know that. This is not over until I say it is over." He turned his horse and rode away, his men following. Owen watched until they were out of sight, then lowered his rifle. His hands were steady, but he could feel adrenaline singing through his veins. That had been close, too close, and it was far from over. "Owen," Willa said, and when he turned, he saw tears streaming down her face. "You could have been killed. All three of them could have shot you." "But they did not," Owen said gently. "And now Vernon knows we are not going to roll over easily. That counts for something. He meant what he said. He will not give up. Neither will I." Willa crossed the distance between them and did something that surprised him. She wrapped her arms around him, pressing her face against his chest. Owen hesitated, then carefully put his arms around her, holding her while she shook. She felt small and fragile against him, but he knew that was an illusion. This woman was strong as steel underneath. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not giving me up." "I never would," Owen said, and he realized as he said it that it was absolutely true. Somewhere in the last few days, Willa Thompson had become important to him in ways he was only beginning to understand. This was not just about protecting someone vulnerable anymore. This was personal. They stood like that for a long moment, and when Willa finally pulled away, her eyes were dry and her jaw was set. "What do we do now?" "We stay alert," Owen said. "Vernon will be back, but now we know what we are dealing with. And we tell the sheriff what happened so he knows Vernon made a threat. Will the sheriff help us? I do not know, but I know I will do whatever it takes to keep you safe." That night they sat together on the porch long after dark. Owen had his rifle and Willa sat close enough that their shoulders almost touched. The night was quiet, no sign of Vernon or his men, but Owen knew they were out there somewhere, planning their next move. "Tell me something happy," Willa said suddenly. "Tell me about the best day you ever had on this ranch." Owen thought about it. 3 years ago, spring. I had been working all season to breed my best cow to a prize bull from a neighboring ranch. When she finally dropped her calf, it was perfect. Strong, healthy, good lines. I stood in that barn at sunrise watching that little creature take its first steps, and I thought to myself that this is what life is supposed to be. Creating things, nurturing them, watching them grow. It felt like everything I had been working toward was worth it in that moment. "That is a good memory," Willa said softly. "Hold on to it. What about you? What is your best memory?" Willa was quiet for so long that Owen thought she might not answer. Then she said, "I was 10 years old. My mother was still alive, and we spent a whole day together picking wildflowers in a meadow near our house. We made chains out of them, crowns, necklaces. We lay in the grass and watched clouds and made up stories about what shapes we saw. It was the last completely happy day I remember before everything started getting complicated. You will have days like that again," Owen promised. "Better days when all of this is behind you. I want to believe that. Then believe it. Better days are coming." She turned to look at him in the moonlight. You really mean that, do not you? You genuinely believe things can get better. They have to. Otherwise, what is the point of fighting? Willa smiled, and it was the first genuine smile Owen had seen from her. It transformed her face, made her look younger, lighter. You are an optimist, Owen Turner. I did not know people like you still existed. Well, now you do. They sat in comfortable silence after that, and Owen found himself very aware of her presence beside him. The warmth of her, the steady sound of her breathing. Something was shifting between them, something that went beyond protector and protected. He was not sure when it had started, but it was there now, undeniable. The next few days were tense. Owen and Willa stayed close to the house, always armed, always watching. Vernon did not return, but Owen had no illusions that he had given up. Men like Vernon Mallory did not give up when told no. They regrouped and came back harder. In the meantime, life on the ranch continued. Cattle needed tending, crops needed harvesting, work needed doing. Owen and Willa fell into a deeper partnership, working side by side on various tasks. She learned to milk the cow, to collect eggs from the chickens he kept, to help move the cattle between pastures. He taught her patiently, and she learned quickly, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. In the evenings, they talked. Owen learned about her childhood in Texas, about her mother who had loved books and passed that love to her daughter. Willa learned about Owen's parents, about growing up on this ranch, about his dreams to expand the operation someday. They discovered shared loves of music and storytelling, of simple pleasures like good food and starry nights. And slowly, carefully, they began to care for each other in ways that went beyond friendship. Owen noticed it first in small things. The way his heart sped up when Willa smiled at him. The way he looked forward to meals together not because he was hungry, but because it meant time in her company. The way he found excuses to be near her, to help her with tasks she could easily handle alone. Willa noticed it too, in the way Owen looked at her when he thought she was not watching. In the gentle way he corrected her when she made mistakes learning ranch work. In the way he always made sure she was comfortable, safe, cared for. She found herself thinking about him constantly, wondering what he was doing when they were apart, counting the minutes until they would be together again. Neither of them spoke of it. The situation was too complicated, too dangerous. Willa was still legally married, still being hunted. There was no room for romance in the middle of survival, but the feelings grew anyway, undeniable and consuming. 2 weeks after Vernon's visit, Owen made another trip to town for supplies. He stopped by the sheriff's office first and found Daniel reading through wanted posters. "Any news about Mallory?" Owen asked. Daniel looked up. "Some. I sent some telegrams, asked around. Your instincts were right about him. Vernon Mallory is bad news. He has never been arrested for anything, but there are rumors. Men who crossed him in business deals who ended up dead or disappeared. Women in his past who met unfortunate ends. Nothing proven, but a lot of smoke for there to be no fire. So what can we do? Honestly. Not much unless he breaks the law here. But I will tell you this, Owen. If something happens to him on your property, if he forces your hand and you have to defend yourself or Willa, I will investigate thoroughly. And I suspect I will find that you acted in justified self-defense. Do you understand what I am saying?" Owen understood perfectly. Daniel was giving him permission to do what needed to be done if Vernon pushed things. "I understand. Thank you, Daniel. Just be careful, and try to keep it clean if you can." Owen left the sheriff's office and headed to the general store. Samuel Hart greeted him warmly and helped him gather supplies. As Owen was loading bags of flour and sugar, Samuel leaned in close. "That fellow who was looking for his wife left town 3 days ago," Samuel said quietly. but I heard from a friend that he is staying at a hotel about 20 miles south of here. Just thought you should know." "I appreciate it, Samuel." Owen rode home with a sense of foreboding. Vernon was still too close, still planning something. The question was what and when. He found Willa in the kitchen kneading dough for bread, flour dusting her arms up to her elbows. She looked up when he entered, and the smile she gave him made his chest tighten. "How was town?" she asked, quiet. "Vernon left, but he is still in the area. We need to stay careful." Willa's smile faded. "He is not going to give up, is he? No, men like him do not know how." She went back to kneading with more force than necessary. "Sometimes I think about just going back, ending this nightmare and sparing you all the trouble." "Do not," Owen said sharply. "Do not ever think that. What happens to you if you go back?" "Nothing good," Willa admitted. "He would make sure I never ran again, I know that." "Then you are staying here where you are safe. We will figure this out, Willa, I promise you." She looked at him with such raw emotion that Owen felt it like a physical blow. "Why do you care so much? And do not tell me it is just about doing the right thing. There is more to it than that. I can see it in the way you look at me." Owen's throat went dry. This was dangerous territory, confessions that could complicate everything. But he was tired of lying, tired of pretending he did not feel what he felt. "You are right," he said quietly. "There is more to it. I care about you, Willa. More than I should, probably, given the circumstances. But I cannot help it. These last 2 weeks with you here have been the best weeks I have had in years. You make this house feel like a home. You make me feel less alone. And the thought of anything happening to you, of Vernon taking you away, it makes me furious in ways I did not know I could feel." Willa's eyes filled with tears. "Owen, I am married. Legally, I belong to another man." "Legally," Owen agreed. "But not in any way that matters. That marriage was forced on you. You never had a choice. But now you do. You get to choose what happens next, where you go, who you spend your time with. And I am hoping, maybe foolishly, that you might choose to stay here, with me. Not just until this is over, but after, as long as you want." "I am broken," Willa whispered. "Vernon broke me. I do not know if I can ever be what you deserve." "You are not broken," Owen said firmly. He crossed to her, gently taking her flour-covered hands in his. "You are bent, maybe, bruised, but not broken. I see your strength, Willa. I see how hard you fight, how brave you are, and I do not need you to be anything other than who you are right now." "I do not know how to do this," she said, and tears were falling now, leaving tracks in the flour dust on her cheeks. "I do not know how to trust someone, how to let someone care about me. Vernon took that from me." "Then we will figure it out together," Owen said. "Slowly, carefully, at whatever pace you need. I am not going anywhere, Willa. I am right here for as long as you want me." She made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "You are too good to be true. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for you to turn into something else." "I am just a man," Owen said. "A rancher who lives alone and eats burnt eggs and forgets to mend his clothes until they are falling apart. I am nothing special, but I care about you, and I will protect you with everything I have." Willa pulled her hands free and reached up, touching his face gently as if memorizing the shape of it. "I care about you too," she said softly. "So much that it scares me. I did not think I could feel this way about anyone after Vernon. But you are different. You make me feel safe. You make me feel seen in ways I never have been before." Owen leaned into her touch, closing his eyes. "Stay with me, Willa. Let me help you build a new life here. Let me show you what it is supposed to be like when someone cares about you." "What about Vernon?" "We will deal with him when the time comes, but he does not get to dictate your future. You do." Willa looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay, I will stay. Not just until this is over, but after. I want to build something here with you, Owen. I want to see where this goes." Owen felt something in his chest expand, something that might have been hope or joy or both. "You mean that?" "I mean it. You said my story ends here and begins with you. I am ready to start that new story." He pulled her close, and this time when he held her, it felt different. Not just protection, but promise. They stood like that in the kitchen, flour and all, and Owen thought that this moment right here was worth whatever trouble was coming. The trouble came 2 nights later. Owen woke to the smell of smoke. He was on his feet instantly, grabbing his rifle and running outside. The barn was burning, flames already licking up the sides. He could hear his horses screaming inside. "Willa," he shouted, running back to the house. She appeared in the doorway, already dressed, eyes wide. "The barn is on fire. Stay in the house and lock the doors." "What about the animals?" "I will get them. Just stay safe." Owen ran to the barn, using his shirt to cover his mouth against the smoke. The heat was intense, but he forced himself forward. He got the horses out first, slapping their rumps to send them running to safety. Then the cow, confused and slow. By the time he had evacuated all the animals, the barn was fully engulfed, flames reaching toward the night sky, and that was when he saw them. Vernon and his 2 men, sitting on their horses at the edge of the property, silhouetted by the fire. Watching. Owen felt rage replace fear. This was not just about taking Willa anymore. This was about destruction, about punishment, about showing Owen the price of defiance. Well, Vernon had picked the wrong man to intimidate. Owen walked toward them, rifle in hand. "That was my barn, Mallory, my property. You just committed arson." "Prove it," Vernon said calmly. "Could have been lightning, could have been careless with a lamp." Accidents happen on ranches all the time. We both know what this was. The question is, are you done playing games? "I will be done when I have what belongs to me. Send out Willa and I will leave you alone. Refuse and things will keep getting worse. Next time maybe it is your house. Or maybe something happens to your cattle. Or maybe something happens to you and Willa is left defenseless. So many possibilities." "She is not going with you," Owen said. "Not tonight, not ever. You need to accept that and move on with your life. She is my wife. She is a woman who you terrorized for years until she had to flee. That does not give you rights. That makes you a monster." Vernon's expression darkened. "Careful, Mr. Turner. You are in over your head. Then maybe you should test those waters and see how deep they go." For a moment, Owen thought Vernon might actually do it, might actually push this to violence right here and now. But then Vernon smiled that cold smile and turned his horse. "Soon, Mr. Turner. Very soon this ends." They rode away, leaving Owen standing in front of his burning barn. He watched until the flames finally died down to embers, leaving nothing but a skeleton of charred wood and ash. Years of work gone in one night. But the animals were safe and Willa was safe, and that was what mattered. He found her standing on the porch, tears streaming down her face. "I am so sorry," she said. "This is all my fault. If I had not come here, he would not have burned your barn. I will leave, tonight, right now. I will end this before he destroys everything you have built." "No," Owen said, climbing the porch steps. "This is not your fault. This is Vernon's fault for being a vindictive bastard who cannot accept that he does not own you, and you are not leaving. We are in this together now. But your barn, Owen, all your work, can be rebuilt. You cannot be replaced." He cupped her face gently, making sure she was looking at him. "Listen to me. I knew the risks when I told you to stay. I knew this might get ugly, but I do not regret it and I am not giving up. We are going to end this, Willa. We are going to end it permanently so you never have to be afraid again." "How?" Owen had been thinking about that very question. "Vernon thinks he can intimidate us into submission. He thinks if he makes life hard enough, I will hand you over. But he is underestimating us. Tomorrow, I am going to the sheriff and reporting the arson. I am going to make sure everyone in town knows what Vernon did. And then we are going to force his hand. What do you mean? I mean, we stop hiding. We stop reacting. We go on the offensive. We make it so uncomfortable for him to stay here that he either gives up or makes a mistake. And when he makes that mistake, we end this. Willa looked uncertain. That sounds dangerous. It is. But hiding is just going to drag this out. Better to force a confrontation on our terms than wait for him to pick the time and place. The next morning, Owen rode to town while Willa stayed at the ranch with the shotgun. He went straight to the sheriff's office and reported the barn burning. Daniel listened grimly, then nodded. I will ride out and investigate. If I find evidence that Mallory was involved, I will arrest him. He was there, Owen said. I saw him watching, but he was careful not to leave evidence. Then we have a problem. I cannot arrest a man just on your word, especially someone with Mallory's resources. He could lawyer his way out of anything I bring against him unless we have solid proof. What if I can get him to confess? Daniel raised an eyebrow. How would you do that? I do not know yet, but give me a few days. Can you keep an eye on him in the meantime? Let him know you are watching. I can do that. Just do not do anything stupid, Owen. Revenge is not worth getting yourself killed. Owen left the sheriff's office and headed to the general store. Samuel listened to his story about the barn with increasing anger. That son of a bitch, pardon my language, but that is what he is. Everyone in town has heard stories about Mallory by now. People are not happy that he is around. Good, Owen said. Let people talk. Let him know he is not welcome here. Over the next few days, Owen made sure everyone in Eureka Springs knew what Vernon had done. He talked to shopkeepers, to other ranchers, to anyone who would listen. The story spread quickly, and public opinion turned sharply against Vernon. People started refusing to serve him in stores, in restaurants. The owner of the boarding house where he was staying asked him to leave. Vernon was being run out of town by social pressure, but that just made him more dangerous. A cornered animal always fought hardest. The confrontation came on a Saturday afternoon. Owen was in town picking up lumber to start rebuilding his barn when Vernon approached him on the main street. His two hired men flanked him, hands near their guns. You have been spreading lies about me, Vernon said coldly. I have been spreading the truth, Owen corrected. There is a difference. I want you to stop, immediately. Tell people you were mistaken, that the fire was an accident, that you have no proof I was involved. Why would I do that? Because if you do not, I will kill you right here in the street, and then I will take Willa back where she belongs. Your choice. Owen glanced around. They were on the main street in broad daylight with witnesses everywhere. Vernon was either desperate or foolish to make such an open threat. You would murder me in front of all these people. I would claim self-defense. My men would back me up. Who are people going to believe? A wealthy landowner or a nobody rancher? And even if I go to trial, I have lawyers who can get me out of anything. Owen felt a cold calm settle over him. This was it, the moment everything had been building toward. I think you should leave town, Vernon. Go back to Texas and find some other woman to terrorize. Willa is done with you. Willa is mine. She belongs to me, and I am going to take her back tonight. You can either give her to me willingly or I will take her over your dead body. Those are the only two options. There is a third option, Owen said quietly. I kill you first, Vernon laughed. You kill me. You are a farmer playing at being tough. I am going to enjoy breaking you. Try it, Owen said. Right here, right now. Let us see how tough you really are without your hired guns backing you up. Vernon's expression darkened. You are challenging me to what, a gunfight? How very Western of you. Not a gunfight. You are right that I am not a gunslinger. But I will fight you with fists if you have the courage for it. Winner takes all. You win. Willa goes with you and I stop interfering. I win, you leave Arkansas and never come back. We settle this like men instead of burning barns and making threats." Vernon considered for a moment. Owen could see him calculating, weighing options. Finally, he nodded. "Fine, but when I win, and I will win, you will know that I beat you fairly." A crowd was gathering now, people drawn by the confrontation. The sheriff pushed through, looking between Owen and Vernon. "What is going on here?" "These two are about to have a fistfight," one of the onlookers called out. Owen challenged Mallory. Daniel looked at Owen. "Is this true?" "It is. We are settling our dispute the old-fashioned way, unless Vernon here is afraid." "I am not afraid of you," Vernon spat. He stripped off his jacket and rolled up his sleeves. "Let us do this." They moved to an open area in the street while the crowd formed a circle around them. Daniel tried to stop it, but someone pointed out that as long as both men were willing, it was not technically illegal. Owen unbuckled his gun belt and handed it to Samuel Hart for safekeeping. Vernon did the same. They faced each other in the dust, and Owen saw the confidence in Vernon's eyes. The man was bigger, probably had more experience in fights like this. But Owen had something Vernon did not have: motivation. Everything he cared about depended on winning this fight. Vernon threw the first punch, a heavy right hook that Owen barely dodged. He countered with a jab to Vernon's ribs, feeling the satisfying impact. They circled each other, trading blows. Vernon was strong, his hits landing like hammers, but Owen was faster, more agile. He used that advantage, darting in and out, landing quick strikes and retreating before Vernon could grab him. The fight lasted longer than Owen expected. Both men landed solid hits. Owen felt his lips split, tasted blood. His ribs screamed where Vernon had caught him with a nasty body shot. But he kept moving, kept fighting, drawing on reserves of strength he did not know he had. Vernon was slowing down now, his breathing labored. Owen pressed the advantage, landing a combination that snapped Vernon's head back. The bigger man stumbled, and Owen followed up with an uppercut that lifted Vernon off his feet. He crashed into the dirt and did not get up immediately. "Stay down," Owen said, his own legs shaking. "It is over." Vernon pushed himself to his hands and knees, spitting blood. "This proves nothing. You got lucky. I beat you fairly in front of witnesses. Now honor your word and leave." Vernon stood slowly, swaying. There was murder in his eyes, and Owen tensed, expecting him to go for a weapon. But then Daniel was there, hand on his own gun. "The fight is over, Mallory. Time for you to pack up and move on." Vernon looked around at the crowd, seeing no sympathy, no support, just people who had heard his story and judged him wanting. Finally, he nodded stiffly. "Fine, I will go. But Willa is still legally my wife. This is not over." "Yes," Owen said quietly, "it is. You leave Arkansas by sundown, or I swear I will find a legal way to put you in jail. Daniel, you heard him threaten to kill me. That is a crime, is not it?" "It is," Daniel agreed. "And I have 24 witnesses who heard it. Mr. Mallory, I strongly suggest you do as Owen says and leave, because if I have to arrest you, the trial will not be pretty." Vernon stared at Owen for a long moment, then collected his jacket and gun belt. "You have not heard the last of me." "I think I have," Owen said. "Because deep down, you know you lost, and men like you hate being losers more than anything. So you will go back to Texas and tell yourself that Willa was not worth the trouble anyway. You will find some other woman to abuse. But you will leave us alone because coming back would mean admitting you lost twice." Vernon's face went red with rage, but he did not reply. He just turned and walked away, his hired men trailing behind him. The crowd parted to let them through, and Owen watched until they disappeared from view. Then his legs gave out and he sat down hard in the dirt. His whole body hurt, and he was pretty sure he had at least one cracked rib. But he had one. Vernon was leaving and Willa was safe. Daniel helped him to his feet. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I have ever seen. Maybe both, Owen admitted. But it worked. You should get those injuries looked at. And then you should go tell that woman of yours what happened. Something tells me she has been worried. Owen limped to the doctor's office, got his ribs wrapped and his cuts cleaned, then rode slowly back to the ranch. Willa met him at the door, and when she saw his face, she went pale. "What happened?" "Where is Vernon?" "Gone," Owen said. "I challenged him to a fight in town. Beat him fair and square in front of witnesses. He agreed to leave Arkansas. You fought him." "Owen, you could have been killed, but I was not. I am fine, just bruised." He took her hands. "It is over, Willa. Vernon is gone. You are free." She stared at him, and then she was crying, great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. Owen pulled her close, holding her while she cried out years of fear and pain and captivity. He stood there in the doorway, aching and exhausted, and thought that this was worth every bruise, every broken rib, every moment of fear. Eventually, her tears slowed. She pulled back, looking up at him with red, swollen eyes. "What happens now?" "Now," Owen said, "we start that new story we talked about. We rebuild the barn. We work the ranch. We figure out this thing between us. We live, Willa. We finally get to just live. I am still married to him, legally. Then we figure out how to fix that. Divorces are complicated but not impossible, or we just wait him out. Eventually, the law will catch up to Vernon Mallory. Men like him always make mistakes eventually. What if he comes back? He will not. I saw it in his eyes. He lost and he knows it. His pride will not let him come back and risk losing again." Willa searched his face, then nodded slowly. "I believe you. I do not know why, but I believe you. Because I have never lied to you," Owen said simply, "and I am not starting now." She reached up and touched his bruised face gently. "You are an extraordinary man, Owen Turner. I do not think you realize how rare you are." "I am just a rancher who fell for a brave woman," Owen said. "Nothing extraordinary about that." "I love you," Willa said suddenly, the words tumbling out. "I know it is fast. I know the circumstances are strange, but I do. I love you, Owen. You saved my life in every way a person can be saved." Owen felt warmth spread through his chest, better than any medicine. "I love you too, Willa. I think I have since that first night when you pointed that stolen gun at me in my barn. I looked at you and I saw strength and courage and something that called to me. I have been falling ever since." "What do we do now?" she asked again, but this time there was hope in her voice instead of fear. "Now," Owen said, "we kiss. Because I have been wanting to do that for weeks, and I think we have earned it." Willa smiled, that beautiful transformative smile that made her whole face light up. "I think you are right." She rose on her toes and Owen bent his head, and their lips met in a kiss that was gentle and sweet and full of promise. It was not their first kiss ever, but it was their first kiss as free people, as partners, as two souls who had found each other against all odds. When they finally pulled apart, Owen rested his forehead against hers. "Welcome home, Willa Thompson. Welcome to the rest of your life." "It is a good life," she whispered, "better than I ever imagined." "It is about to get even better," Owen promised. "We have a ranch to run, a barn to rebuild, and a future to build together." "What do you say? Are you ready?" "I am ready," Willa said. "I am so ready." The weeks that followed were hard work but joyful. Owen and Willa rebuilt the barn together, working side by side under the hot Arkansas sun. She learned to swing a hammer, to measure and cut lumber, to work until her muscles ached and her hands were calloused. Owen was patient and encouraging, teaching her everything he knew. When the new barn finally stood complete, they celebrated with a simple dinner and the satisfaction of work well done. Life fell into a comfortable rhythm. They rose with the sun and worked until dark, managing the ranch together. Willa proved to be a natural with the animals, patient and intuitive. She took over more and more of the daily operations, freeing Owen to focus on bigger projects like expanding their cattle herd and improving their land. They worked as a team, each complementing the other's strengths and compensating for their weaknesses. In the evenings, they sat together on the porch and talked about everything and nothing. They told each other stories from their childhoods, shared their dreams for the future, debated philosophy and politics and religion. Owen had never known conversation could be so easy, so fulfilling. Willa challenged him intellectually in ways he had not experienced before, and he loved it. They also began carefully exploring their physical relationship. Willa had been so traumatized by Vernon that intimacy was difficult at first. Owen was endlessly patient, letting her set the pace, never pushing. They started with simple touches, holding hands, his arm around her shoulders, then gentle kisses that gradually became more passionate. Slowly, carefully, Willa learned that physical affection could be tender instead of violent, giving instead of taking. Months passed with no word from Vernon. Owen made inquiries through the sheriff and learned that Vernon had indeed returned to Texas. There were rumors that he was courting a widow with money, already moving on to his next victim. Owen felt bad for the woman, whoever she was, but he was grateful that Vernon had decided Willa was not worth pursuing further. The question of the marriage remained complicated. Willa wrote to lawyers in Texas asking about divorce options. The responses were not encouraging. Arkansas did allow divorce, but proving grounds could be difficult, especially when the husband was wealthy and well-connected. The process could take years and cost money they did not have. "What if we just ignored it?" Willa suggested one evening. "What if we just lived as if we were married to each other? Common law marriage is recognized in Arkansas after a certain period of cohabitation." "Are you sure that is what you want?" Owen asked. "Not the technical legal recognition, but the real thing. Marriage to me, a life here on this ranch, all of it." "I have never been more sure of anything," Willa said. "I love you, Owen. I love this life we are building. I do not need a piece of paper to tell me we belong together." Owen pulled her close. "Then that is what we will do. As far as I am concerned, you are my wife in every way that matters. We will figure out the legal stuff eventually, but it does not change what we are to each other." "Your wife," Willa repeated, testing the words. "I like the sound of that." "So do I, Mrs. Turner. So do I." They held an informal ceremony for themselves that autumn. No preacher, no official documents, just the two of them standing at sunset on their land, speaking vows they had written themselves. Owen promised to protect her, cherish her, stand beside her through whatever came. Willa promised to love him, support him, build a life with him that was full of joy and purpose. They exchanged simple gold bands that Owen had purchased in town. When he slipped the ring onto Willa's finger, she cried happy tears. Something Owen had learned was her way of processing strong emotion. He kissed her gently, and she kissed him back with passion and promise. That night, they truly became husband and wife in every sense. Willa had been nervous, memories of Vernon's brutality still haunting her at times. But Owen was gentle and patient, worshiping her body with reverent touches, making sure she felt safe and cherished. When they finally came together, it was beautiful and right, two people joining not just physically but spiritually. Afterward, Willa cried again, but this time from relief and joy. "Thank you," she whispered against his chest. "Thank you for showing me what this is supposed to be like." "Thank you for trusting me," Owen replied, stroking her hair. "Thank you for choosing me, for staying, for building this life with me. I know it has not been easy." "The best things never are," Willa said. "But this is worth every struggle it took to get here." Winter came and they weathered it together. Arkansas winters were mild compared to further north, but there were still cold nights and occasional snow. Owen and Willa stayed warm by the fire, wrapped in blankets, talking and dreaming. They made plans for the ranch's expansion in the spring. They talked about the future, about children someday when things were more settled. By the time spring arrived in 1874, they had been together for nearly a year. The ranch was thriving, their relationship was strong, and Vernon Mallory was a distant memory. Owen had never been happier, had never imagined he could be this content. Every morning he woke up next to Willa and felt grateful. Every evening he fell asleep with her in his arms and felt blessed. Then, in April, Willa came to him with news that changed everything. "Owen," she said one morning over breakfast, her face glowing, "I am pregnant." Owen nearly dropped his coffee cup. "You are sure?" "I am sure. I missed my monthly time and I have been feeling sick in the mornings. All the signs are there. A baby. They were going to have a baby." Owen felt joy so intense it was almost painful. He stood up and crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. "That is amazing. That is the best news I have ever gotten." "You are happy?" Willa asked, sounding relieved. "Happy does not begin to cover it. I am thrilled, overwhelmed, excited. A little terrified, honestly, but mostly just incredibly happy." Willa laughed, hugging him tight. "I am terrified too. I do not know the first thing about being a mother, but I know we will figure it out together." "We always do," Owen agreed. The pregnancy progressed normally. Willa glowed with health, her body changing in beautiful ways as their child grew inside her. Owen was attentive and protective, making sure she did not overwork herself, that she ate well and rested enough. He read everything he could find about childbirth and infant care, determined to be prepared. In the early winter of 1874, on a cold December night, Willa went into labor. Owen had arranged for a midwife from town to be present, an older woman named Martha who had delivered hundreds of babies. She arrived quickly and took over with calm competence. The labor was long and difficult. Owen stayed by Willa's side the entire time, holding her hand, wiping her forehead, encouraging her through the pain. He had never felt so helpless, watching her suffer and knowing there was nothing he could do except be there. But Willa was strong, stronger than he had ever realized. She pushed through the pain with determination, focused entirely on bringing their child into the world. Finally, in the early hours of the morning, a baby's cry filled the house. Martha held up a squirming, red-faced infant. "It is a boy," she announced. "A healthy, strong boy." Owen felt tears stream down his face as he looked at his son. Their son. The baby was perfect, tiny and wrinkled, but absolutely perfect. Martha cleaned him quickly and wrapped him in a blanket, then placed him in Willa's arms. "Hello, little one," Willa whispered, her own face wet with tears. "We have been waiting for you." The baby quieted at her voice, and Owen thought his heart might burst from the emotion. He sat beside Willa on the bed, one arm around her, looking down at the new life they had created together. "What should we name him?" Willa asked. They had discussed names but never settled on one. Now, looking at his son, Owen knew. "What about Samuel, after the shopkeeper who helped us? He was there when we needed him, and I would like to honor that." "Samuel Turner," Willa said, testing it. "I love it." "Samuel Owen Turner, with your name as his middle name." "Perfect," Owen agreed. "Welcome to the world, Samuel. We are going to give you the best life we can." Those first weeks with a newborn were exhausting but magical. Samuel was a good baby, healthy and alert. He nursed well and slept reasonably, though the interrupted nights were hard on both parents. Owen discovered a capacity for love he had not known he possessed. Watching Willa nurse their son, Seeing her transform into a mother, he fell in love with her all over again. As Samuel grew, the ranch continued to thrive. Owen hired a hand to help with the heavier work so he could spend more time with his family. Willa managed the household and cared for Samuel with the same competence she brought to everything. They were building something real and lasting together, a legacy for their son. In the spring of 1875, they received unexpected news. A lawyer from Texas appeared at their door with papers. Vernon Mallory was dead, killed in a shooting at a saloon. Apparently, he had been courting that widow and her brother had objected violently to the match. There had been a confrontation, guns had been drawn, and Vernon had been shot dead. The brother claimed self-defense and had been acquitted. The lawyer explained that with Vernon's death, Willa was legally a widow. The marriage was dissolved by death rather than divorce, which actually made things cleaner legally. There were no claims on her, no obligations. She was truly free. "It is over," Willa said after the lawyer left. "It is really, truly over." "How do you feel?" Owen asked carefully. Despite everything Vernon had done, he had still been her husband once. "Relieved," Willa admitted. "Is that terrible?" "I know I should feel something more complex, but I just feel relieved. He cannot hurt anyone else now. And we can move forward without any legal complications." "It is not terrible," Owen assured her. "It is honest, and now we can make everything official. We can get legally married if you want." "I would like that," Willa said. "I would like Samuel to have parents who are married in the eyes of the law as well as in our hearts." They were married that summer in a simple ceremony at the church in Eureka Springs. Samuel was there, nearly 7 months old and grinning at everyone. The whole town turned out for the wedding, people who had supported them through the difficult times celebrating this happy ending. When Owen kissed his bride, there was not a dry eye in the church. Life continued to be good. Samuel grew into a bright, curious toddler who loved the ranch animals and followed his father everywhere. In 1877, Willa gave birth to a daughter they named Rose Martha, after Willa's mother and the midwife who had helped deliver Samuel. Then in 1880, another son arrived, James, completing their family. The ranch expanded and prospered. Owen's herd grew to over 100 head of cattle, and he bought additional land from a neighboring rancher who was retiring. Willa started a small vegetable business, selling produce to restaurants and stores in Eureka Springs. Together, they built something substantial, a working ranch that provided well for their family. Years passed in a blur of work and love and family moments. Samuel grew tall and strong, learning ranching from his father. Rose was quiet and thoughtful, with her mother's green eyes and love of books. James was the wild one, always getting into mischief, keeping everyone on their toes. Owen and Willa grew older together, silver threading through their hair, lines deepening on their faces. But their love never wavered. If anything, it grew stronger with time, deepened by shared experiences and challenges overcome together. They still sat on the porch in the evenings, still talked for hours, still found joy in each other's company. On their 20th wedding anniversary in 1895, their children threw them a party. Samuel was 20, working the ranch alongside his father. Rose was 17, engaged to a nice young man from town. James was 15, already showing signs of being a skilled horseman. The house was full of laughter and love, friends and neighbors celebrating with them. That night, after everyone had left, Owen and Willa sat on their porch as they had so many times before. The stars were bright overhead, crickets sang in the grass, and everything was peaceful. "You ever think about that night in the barn?" Willa asked. "When we first met?" "Often," Owen admitted. I think about how different both our lives would have been if you had not come here, if I had turned you away. You saved my life that night, Willa said. You gave me everything. A home, a family, love, safety, everything that matters. You gave me just as much, Owen said. Before you came, I was just existing, going through the motions but not really living. You made this house a home. You gave me children and love and purpose. We saved each other, Willa. She leaned her head on his shoulder and he put his arm around her, holding her close. Your story ends here and begins with me, she quoted softly. That is what you told me that first night. It was true then and it is still true now. My story did end that night, the bad story, the painful story. And a new story began, the best story, with you at the center of it. Our story, Owen corrected. Not just yours or mine, but ours, together. Together, Willa agreed. Always together. They sat in comfortable silence, two people who had found each other against all odds and built a life worth living. The past was behind them, healed as much as it could be. The present was full and rich, and the future stretched ahead, full of promise and possibility. Samuel would take over the ranch someday, continuing what his parents had built. Rose would marry and have children of her own, spreading the love she had learned in this house. James would find his path, whatever it might be, supported by family who believed in him. The Turner legacy would continue, generation after generation, all starting from that night in the barn when a lonely rancher found a woman hiding from her past and decided to help her write a new story. As Owen held his wife on the porch of their home, surrounded by land they had worked together, under stars that had witnessed their journey, he felt profound gratitude. His life had been simple before Willa, predictable and safe. Now it was extraordinary, full of love and challenge and meaning. He would not trade a single moment of it, not the fear or the danger or the difficulty, because it had all led to this. To her, to their children, to this life they had built from nothing but determination and love. I love you, Willa Turner, Owen said into the quiet night. I love you too, Owen Turner, Willa replied. Now and always. They sat together as the stars wheeled overhead and the night deepened around them, two souls intertwined, two stories merged into one beautiful whole. The past was healed, the present was peaceful, and the future was bright with promise. Their story, the story that began with fear and ended with love, was complete. Not finished, because life would continue and new chapters would be written, but complete in all the ways that mattered. They had found each other in the darkness and built a life in the light. They had overcome the past and created a future. They had loved and been loved in return, had raised children who would carry that love forward, had built something lasting and true. It was everything they had hoped for and more than they had dared to dream. It was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything.